stop donating your time and documenting the whole thing. Like, just go do the work.
Yeah.
Just go do. Don't nobody need to see you like taking a Reels or a Snapchat or something like that of you scrubbing down a kitchen sink. What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Dads on Purpose, the podcast. I'm your host, Josh Ashford, and as always, got the big homie KB, Mr. Kevin Bergantz. What up, though?
What? People, as always, it's good to be here on Dads on Purpose podcast with my boy Josh. What's up, baby? How you doing, man?
He missed the last episode, so he had to come back with the. Okay, gonna come back.
Let you know I'm still here.
Now, Kev ain't fell off, and I mean, I'm sure some people will be like, "Oh, Josh trying to run Kev off." No. Y'all think I'm gonna do this by myself? I love y'all, I really do. But y'all think I'm gonna do this by myself?
No.
Yeah, we got company. Mr. Sean Brooks. We gonna call you Miss Trish. We gonna call you Trish. We gonna call you something. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. How you doing, Trish?
I'm doing good, Josh. Kev, how are y'all today?
Great.
Fantastic. Trish, do you want to introduce yourself or do you want me to introduce you?
You go for it, Josh.
See, look, she didn't even plan nothing. So she's just like, I don't know how to introduce myself. Y'all, for you guys that are new, man, the Dads on Purpose podcast, the whole purpose is to help us be better, well-rounded fathers. And so what that allows us to do is that gives us like full range to do, man, any topic we really want to. You guys know we talked about grief. We talked about finance. We talked about divorce. We talked about sex after kids. Like there's literally nothing that's not on the table for us. And so we brought Miss Trish in here, man. Miss Trish, she's the director of an overnight homeless shelter in Denton, Texas. And I love the organization. I love her. And so I was like, yo, you know what? Like, we really need to have this conversation about people that are residents of the homeless shelter. Like, it's so much we don't understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like we have this misconception of what the population is. And
Absolutely.
Man, I'm just like, yo, like, let's talk about it. So we got Miss Trish here. She's at the shelter right now. So if something pop off, she might have to go. And me and Kev, you know what I'm saying? We just gonna jig. Huh?
I'll pop back in. I'll handle the situation and come right back.
What you mean handle the situation? Don't get fired. Listen, y'all don't. So like, Trish is really my friend, really my family. Y'all don't realize, like, so she be telling me what be going on, and like the people there, I don't want to say they fear her, but they respect her.
Yeah.
And so somebody else come in, you know what I'm saying? You got to earn respect. And so Trish go in there, and I know she just give him a look, or she give him that. Hey, she from New Orleans, so she give him that. She give him that accent real quick. But hey, anyways, here's where I want to start. I wrote it down because I knew I was gonna forget, and I usually don't do that, but I knew how I was feeling today. This 3-0 acting like a. Well, my mind ain't right.
You're right.
Here's where I want to go. And so we can go anywhere from here. I want to talk about the misconception of the people experiencing homelessness, right? And that was the politically correct term. They're not homeless. They are experiencing homelessness because.
Correct.
I was going to let you, that was an alley-oop.
Well, thanks for the intro, Josh. It is absolutely a misnomer that people who are homeless are experiencing it from some fault of their own completely. Many of our guests are homeless because they missed weeks of work due to COVID right now. Many of our guests are experiencing mental illness or in the middle of an episode and simply away from their family because they just are in the middle of that episode. So, and because that happens, we're not able to determine if they're actually who they say they are. So we just provide them with the care that they need in the interim.
What you mean? Like, what? So what do you mean that you're not able to identify who they say they are? Like,
well, we do not require an ID when our guests check in. just because many of our guests, people who are experiencing homelessness for one reason or another, may not have their ID or birth certificate. They may have traveled from one city to another, come to visit a friend. Their backpack was stolen. They fell asleep somewhere. Their ID was stolen. They were robbed. And now they are in the circumstance of not having their vital records.
Wow.
Yeah.
So so if someone comes to a shelter, like what's required? You know what I mean? Like what's required and what's it like in a shelter? Because I'm gonna guess none of us, maybe one or two people listening to this podcast have been a resident of a shelter. So like what is it? What are the requirements for your shelter? And what's that experience like for somebody? And Trish, you got your work voice on. I know you're a little nervous, but this ain't like I told y'all, she's from New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you think of New Orleans, do you think quiet?
I'm taking comfort in it. Leave it alone.
She said she's taking comfort in it.
Okay. So, serving here actually allows me to get to see a lot of people probably in their lowest points in life. So we get people who come in and maybe something happened. I had a man we put on a plane last week who came to bring his daughter into town as a father. And he said, I'm not going to let you talk to me like that. And she did one more time and he hit her. So she 911 her dad and he ended up going to jail for 90 days.
Oh, wow.
So he comes to the homeless shelter because, one, he drove from Indianapolis to Texas, doesn't know anyone, can't get back home. His phone is off. He's evicted from his apartment. He's in an immediate situation and needs immediate help. So that's one type of person who comes just straight out of jail for 90 days. A good father, right?
Right.
So he told his daughter, look, don't talk to me like that. And he meant it. So that level of circumstance, we have people who may have been traveling and their vehicle broke down and they don't have the income to remedy the situation immediately. We would welcome them in. They may have an ID. They may actually only need the shelter for a day or so they think, and then it ends up for a week. The environment here for some people may not be the best if that's not your usual cup of tea, just recognizing what homelessness entails or what a person experiencing or being in the middle of a mental episode, an unmedicated mentally ill person may have some ups and downs that people don't see every day. And that might be uncomfortable for those people who come in. But I do invite people in. I mean, come in and see what it's like to serve at a homeless shelter, to volunteer here, bring your family so that they won't be shocked.
I was going to say scared, shocked, afraid.
Or just unaware. Homelessness is rampant, especially after COVID or during COVID, wherever we are in this part of the pandemic. But it really helps to understand a person and why they're homeless. If you ask a homeless person anything, make it something you would ask one of your friends you hadn't seen in a while. Most of the people that you experience in your area, if it's an area you drive through to work or somewhere else or even your own neighborhood, those people that's your community. You should know the people in your community's name. You probably see the lady at Walmart all the time. You may know their name perhaps, but I would think people in the community, if you ask the homeless people who they are and their story, you can help in so many different ways. You wouldn't believe it.
I like that. Ask the homeless people who they are because they're in your community. That they are your community. That's a good one. I never thought about it like that because oftentimes, we're constantly driving. We're seeing people on the road, and I'm gonna be real with you. Sometimes for me in my life, it's like, man, I see you asking. I'm going through what I'm going. Like I'm making sure, trying to make sure I have gas in my car, but you never really know their story. Like you never really know their story. And like the one that you brought up, the first story, I think it's very important that people really hear that because I know people who went to jail, and it could be something small or it could be something not so big, but that if you lose a week or two of work and they're calling you trying to see where you are, and you in this situation in jail, and now you lost your job, you can't get the money to pay your rent, and everything is falling behind. Now you're experiencing homelessness because of a mishap or a situation. And I think that's really important when we think about reentry. We could talk about reentry just from a regular jail cell, not prison, but just from a regular jail cell and back into your community. And I think that's very important. And I also think that the idea of mental illness, because we all, pandemic hit and we've been big about mental illness, but just the big role of like how mental illness handicaps a person and have them experience illness or experience homelessness as well. My question is, with those that you guys with those individuals that you identify with mental illnesses, do they also get help for medication, or is there a process where you guys can help them along at least as much as you possibly can? I know, look, we can't fix everything. We only have so many things that we could do, but what are some things that you guys do with those who have mental illnesses that come to you?
Right. Absolutely. Our guests who have mental illness are able to get their medications through us. Meet with them
nice.
tomorrow. We have a mental health initiative to where we have 2 licensed clinical social workers on staff. Right now, while I'm here on Thursday nights, they have group and individual just for our guests. I mean, these are services people pay for that these guests are able to get at no cost to them.
Wow.
Oh, that's crazy. Like, that's crazy good.
Yeah.
So go ahead. What were you about to say, Trish?
No, go ahead.
So Kev, you touched on it as far as with the mental illness. Here's my thing. How many people that are actually experiencing homelessness, whether they go to the shelter or they're on the street, they're in tent encampments, or are they called tent encampments, or what they call? What's the right word?
Not any longer. We cleaned up in Denton.
Well, no, I'm not talking about just in Denton. I'm just talking about in general. I'm gonna just say tent encampments. Y'all know what I mean. People that people that are experiencing homelessness, do they typically, I can't say all, but for the majority of them, do they all have some sort of mental illness? And I don't know what the word is. I don't know the right word. I don't know if it's a disease, episode, or whatever. Do they all have some sort of mental illness, or have they become homeless from drugs or alcohol? Because like that's a conception. That's a conception. That's like a stereotype, right?
Yeah.
And so, is that the norm?
Well, I wouldn't say any of this is normal, right? It's pretty much a situation somebody's in. Somebody may have mental illness and have an addiction, drugs or alcohol, or all three. And that doesn't even mean that person doesn't work. Many of our guests actually, we do wake-up calls because they go to work every day. We have over 26 men and women in our enhanced shelter program that are employed. So this is where they go to work from and come back to eat, to prepare to go to work the next day. The mental illness piece, I would say many of our guests coming in are more sufferers of mental illness than drugs or alcohol abuse.
Why is that?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I wish I
had. Oh no, I didn't know if you knew. I mean, you said that you've been there, and I'm biased because I know your personal history, and so you've been around mental illness your whole life, right? That was real country of me. I did it on purpose. You've been around it your whole life, and so I didn't know. You're not quote unquote professionally trained, but you know what I'm saying? You got some degrees, right? You got some street degrees. And so I didn't know if you were able to like identify it, like why why is it this quote unquote like certain type of person, or maybe it's not. Maybe I'm assuming. That's really what I'm doing. I'm trying to figure it out because I got questions.
Yeah, well, identifying mental illness sometimes it's obvious, but people don't want to acknowledge it, especially in our community, right? Oh no, just go lie down on the sofa, take something, and that'll go away, right? But it's not so much what can be done once people get into this level of situation. They're homeless because they have someone in their family or that just doesn't want to deal with that. We get so many calls that say, hey, my son is there and I love him, but I just can't deal with that. And that's why they're here. That's why they're homeless.
Wow.
Well, but then you said, oh boy, he went to jail and his phone was turned off and he couldn't call nobody.
Right.
Or is that more of a one-off than the typical story?
Well, it could happen very often like that. They'll lose their things. I mean, if someone is under the influence or in the middle of an episode, they're going to possibly throw their phone away or throw their credentials away because they think that the phone is telling them something, and they don't know how to handle that. They're in the middle of a mental illness crisis. So being able to identify that and welcome those people in and give them shelter until something happens, until they get medicated, until a family member calls them and they'll want to call them back because they have the right not to. So it's a very severe process, but when you have the support that you need, dealing with mental illness or just having the level of participation from the community and environment like our organization does, in the midst of their bad situation, they'll be safe. They'll be able to eat. They'll be able to remain clean. And then once that episode is over, perhaps they'll be willing to contact their family. They still may have to live in shelter, but in the middle of those episodes, there's just not much anybody can do.
Yeah. Man, I wonder, like, so, because you said something that was really, man, you know, I'm all about family. And that statement touched me, saying that, you know, I can't deal with this person. Like, they're my family, but I just can't deal with this person. I'm just curious, and I'm just wondering if you know, is there any other route? Because I know there might be somebody who's listening right now, and they're probably in the same situation. Like, I'm doing my best. I've been caring for this person for a very long time. Like, have you guys seen any other routes that people who are caring for mentally ill family members could do other than have them go to the homeless shelter? Or is that just something, a common route that you've seen over the past? It's just, you know, they are at wit's ends and they don't have anything else to do. And so they allow their family members to experience this homelessness.
I don't think it's them allowing them to experience the homelessness, that they're at their wit's end. It's a lot to deal with when you're in the midst of that. Sometimes a person in an episode, the person trying to help them the most, that's the one they'll lash out at the most. So in that instance, you're experiencing violence, perhaps.
Yeah.
And it can be very severe. So they're trying, not to say that they're not trying, but if they have small children or they have other family members, they're in a marriage and that's their loved one, they're trying to help and as well as please everybody, just trying to get to a point where that person is safe and gets the help they need. But if they choose not to take their medication, if they choose not to be well, go to treatment or counseling, then it's a hard road.
Yeah.
But no, I was gonna say also, Kev, like you also got to realize though, like but once you identify that someone, you know, has a mental illness or something like that, like, okay, now we have to get them help. The problem is we don't know how to help people. Like you have the stigma of mental illness, and then we don't have like actual treatments besides prescribing people pills. And then you prescribe them pills and what? You make them zombies and things like that. And so we got to have some research in there. Like we have to have a lot more. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm trying to say. But listen, when you look at the scale, when you look at the departments on a grand scale in the United States, look at the departments that are at the government level. Mental health is like second from the bottom. And then when you rank the states, Texas is dead last. Texas is dead last in investing in research into mental illness. So what do you think's gonna happen? Like why? You know what I'm saying? But what I love, and so that's part of the reason why I wanted Trish to come on here, is that like the community in Denton County, and look, if there's some homeless people out there, or if you know what I'm saying, if you got some homeless people, don't send your people to Denton County. You know what I'm saying? But what I love about what's going on in Denton, and I'm proud I'm a proud board member of United Way Denton County. We do a lot for the homelessness initiatives that are going on in our community. What I love that's going on in Denton is we're having a shift. We're really having a shift, and you actually have to thank Seattle, because Seattle has like an amazing model of what to do with people. I don't want to say do, but how to address people, that are in the homelessness situation.
Yeah.
And so Denton has really taken on this and really shifted from hey, you got a soup kitchen, you feed people over there. Hey, you got a shelter, you feed people over there. Hey, you helping people over here. No. So what Denton has been doing over the last like 5 years is really just like combining it all. So a lot of the organizations have gotten on the same system. So that like, yo, if you go get a backpack over there, okay, cool. I know you got backpack. Okay, you got immunization over here. So now I have all of your records. Well, if you stayed at this shelter, okay, I know you stayed here. And I don't know if you guys report, Trish, violations on that system. But hey, maybe if you got into an altercation at this shelter, that might pop up on your record. Oops, that might pop up on your record over here. And so it's really people being collaborative and not working in isolation. I think that's the biggest issue, is that a lot of our and I don't want to just blame it on nonprofits, but a lot of our communities, we're operating in isolation. That this is the way I done it. I'm always do it this way, and I ain't gonna change. And so we just gonna keep on feeding these people. Okay, cool. You feeding my man's, but what he's walking 2 miles with a gimp leg to get there.
Yeah.
Can you refer my man to some services, right? Like, what I'm saying? Can you have can you pay for him to take a train, down here so he can go see this specialist down here that'll actually do it for him? And I'm really simplifying it, because I know it's not that simple, Trish. I know it's not that simple, but in a nutshell, that's a lot of what's going on in our community, and that's why I'm so excited for what you guys are doing at ODB. Sorry, Our Daily Bread. That's the organization Trish worked for. I don't know if I can say that, and if I can't, I'll bleep it out. Can I say that? Okay.
Yeah, you're
I don't want nobody coming for me.
One of the best things about Our Daily Bread is that we do offer the wraparound services. We are supporting our guests with getting IDs, getting their social security card, getting jobs, getting to work, getting from work. There are partners in the community, other agencies doing the exact same thing that we're doing, and we partner with them and we communicate. I call people from Hope Incorporated, United Way, the Veterans Coalition, almost weekly or daily, and meet with them. We have PACE conferencing so that we're all on the same page and understand what our guests need. So Denton is premier and on board with really eradicating homelessness, trying to make that shift, so that we don't have the level of people who are on the corners, panhandling, living in encampments, living in tents. A lot has been done, and we're continuing to work all together, just culminating to get that eradicated. I'm very excited about our new location. We'll move to in about a year, at the end of this year, actually now. And that is going to allow us to offer classes, budgeting classes. We have a Ready for Work training program right now where our guests are working with us to train to be able to work with someone else and get 520 hours in. They work at each of our facilities, our day shelter, our night shelter, and our motel. So there's so many things in place to help our guests who are in the midst of their issues. They're not drug tested. They don't have to prove sobriety in order to get these services. We're helping them where they are.
Nice. I love that. I love.
Kevin, hold on. Give me 1 second. Hold that thought real quick, because I got to get this out because I'm going to forget. And so while we're on this and we're talking about the things that are going on in the community and things like that, Trish, tell me if I could say this again, because I'll cut it out. You know what I'm saying? I don't like to do no editing, but I'll edit this out. People think in order to do all these big transformations that you have to have somebody with a degree. Trish ain't got no degree.
No.
Trish, real quick, tell us your journey and how you've moved up, because you're not supposed to be in a position you in based on certain criterias.
No,
you can talk about God. We love the Lord on here. You know what I'm saying?
All right, no. Honestly, I've only been a director 1 year yesterday. actually.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Glory be to God. It
We need
is
sound effects.
a service that I never thought I would be in. I've always wanted to be a motivational speaker, but my nervousness about talking in front of people has always kept me from doing that. But every day I have to come into a situation to where I have to give um, just an orientation or announcements to the guest here. I started with Our Daily Bread a little over a year ago. I'd been working with people with special needs in the school district for about 5, 6, 7 years. And with COVID, I was falling asleep at work, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Lord, what I'm not going to do is get fired for sitting down, because we were doing the best we can to Zoom our kids and being able to. I also was part of training kids with special needs to work in the school district. And they would allow me to go into the cafeterias to train my students to be able to work retirement level jobs. Many of the students are, so one of them today actually, are in the school district still working those jobs. So glory to God for that, right?
Amen.
After that, I was like, Lord, I need something else to do. So I applied for the job, quit first because I was like, okay, I know this isn't going to work, because I did not want to get fired. And I applied for a program coordinator position. So I was simply the person who would issue the bus passes, find out why people needed to, and do the intake to see whatever else they would need. In the interview, I explained to my boss that I hadn't worked in this level of job since my 20s. But I learned quickly and I wouldn't disappoint her. And I believe that I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me.
Amen.
And she tested me in that. This position became available 6 months into my job. I had done some case management work. She kind of tested me in that, and that worked out really well. And when this became available, I said, don't announce it in case I don't do well. Nothing, we don't have to retract anything. So to God be the glory. It's been a year, and we are advancing to another location, and I've already seen my office. So thank God for that, right?
And she look, she writing protocols and procedures and everything for everybody in there. Ain't got a lick a degree. Ain't got a lick. Kev, sorry, go ahead. You have
that's beautiful, because that's to a lot of people think it's the degree that puts the people in the position to help the people that needs the help. And normally the people, I ain't saying everybody, but normally the people with the degree don't give a hill of beans about the people that they're serving under them. And so I'm just going to leave that nugget right there. And I'm so happy we have an individual who is passionate, and you can see that running from when you were working with those kids in the school to the position that you're in now, knowing that this is going to bless a multitude of individuals on a certain level. My only question that I had before your story was, how long does a person get the opportunity to be, I'm going to correct myself, because I've been listening very, very well to Trish. So how long does a guest get to stay with you guys at your location?
Kev, our guests, thank you for using the right terminology, are able to stay as long as they need to. We work with our guests every day. Before I started working here, we were only open 5 days a week. And that just didn't work. So we went to 7 days a week. So our guests who would have to normally leave on a Friday would have to probably sleep outside or afford a motel room on the weekend. And we found that was just not human. If we had an opportunity to work 7 days a week, that came along and we took advantage of it. There is not a time frame limit on when our guests can stay. We're working with our guests daily to be able to help them get into a position of employment, seeing if they have Social Security, disability income on their own, if APS can come in and help with group homes. So we're trying every day to get them out of this situation, but as long as they need shelter, we offer it.
Wow, that's awesome, because I'm not sure if many shelters have changed their policies and have moved towards that, what you guys are doing. But I remember back when I was inquiring about shelters, normally it's either you have so many days, and then you have to reapply so that they can have another bed for someone else. And so, and I've known some shelters to be like every day is a hustle. So every day, a guest would have to show up hoping to have somewhere to stay. Are you guys kind of in that situation as well? Like every day, you know, a bed may be
Unfortunately, we are.
taken. Okay.
And when I first started, we had 12 beds for women. Today we have 24. If we have more men than women, just I indiscreetly move a mattress from to where we need it, be it men or women, so that we're not turning people away. There are times when we just don't have the room. I will call another shelter. There's only 2 in Denton, so I'll call the other shelter and ask, "Hey, do you have room for this person? Do you have room for this person?" And normally they would be able to accommodate them. Of course, there are times that they can't. But we do not run a 5-day, 14-day sobriety anything. If you need
Nice.
shelter, we offer it. No questions asked.
That's good. That's really good.
But we got time, but I'm not trying to get you out of here. But I want to shift gears. That's why.
Okay.
Because we've been talking about a lot about the guests. But now I want to talk to the dads that are listening to this, right? Because I just as Kev, believe that we all have a duty to give back, whatever capacity that looks like. And so the first question is, okay, so how do people actually get involved with helping? Whether I'm gonna let you answer it, I'm not gonna lead you. How do people get involved? And then 2, why is it so important for us to involve our children when we're involved?
Well, it's really important that you get involved because there's just a need to help the community. I think it's just our duty as human beings to help those who are in need. Our locations have volunteer opportunities for the community to come in and see exactly what we do every day and help from a standpoint that many locations may not offer. They'll take your money. I don't mean that in a bad way, but you can provide money, but you're not able to go in and actually serve the way we allow our guests to serve. We take your money too. We like donations to where we can serve community. Don't get me wrong in that. It goes hand in hand, right? So we want to be able to offer families. I love when families come in to be able to allow their children to see a person that they might consider homelessness or without or lack, to show that they are able to help, that you can help somebody else just by coming in and smiling, just by coming in and speaking, just by coming in and serving in the capacity to where if there's food that needs to be handed out or clothing or socks or bath towels, you can do that as a family. You're able to donate as a family. If you just want to be that family that brings the shelter bleach every month, add that to your grocery list, and you're able to provide that level of support to our guests. Is really important because I believe it's just what we should do. The Lord tells us to be helpers one to another. I mean, it's that simple. Train up your child in a way they ought to go, however you want to grab at it. But it's really important because what happens is the kids today, we don't know what's going to happen, be it mental illness, addictions, pray not, right?
Yeah,
but
right.
You want to be able to have those kids in the mindset of not ostracizing people in that circumstances, because without God, you never know. Even with God, we may be that for a certain amount of time, that person. So allowing people to come in, just openly serve, see what we're doing, being able to support, help, and serve, I think is just really important, just as a community as a whole, to teach that to all entities of the family. The dads, you were saying about just being a dad on purpose. I love wearing a shirt. I sent my dad one. And, when I go home, he calls me all the time. He knows my schedule. Like, he'll call today, and if I'm at work, he says, "What are you doing at work?" But he loves the fact that what he showed me and what he taught me about how to treat people has stuck with me. He absolutely loves the fact that some of the food that he'll grow, my dad's a farmer, but he'll send it up here and I'll be able to cook it for the homeless people.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's an incredible just lineage that he has
That's a
left in
good
me
word.
as a father. And it's important for dads, and it's purposeful, if you will, that I can show my daughter the same thing.
Right.
She's very instrumental in a lot of the things that I do for this community. She's always on me.
I think that's awesome. And just even knowing that there are actually men in your shelter. And as a dad, I think it even encouraged me as a dad to help other men, because oftentimes men are in the shelters and not having another male to converse with. And the question for me too, because I have a 13-year-old and we serve, right? Even with my church, we serve. Just recently, spring break, we went and served in the community food bank, and getting involved and engaged. Are there even opportunities for, or like with kids in a shelter needing other kids to connect with them and work with them? Are those opportunities for that? As far as families engaging with other families at the shelter?
Limited, because the shelter is an environment of 18 and up as far as the people who take shelter here. Our guests are able to, we don't have families here. So our volunteers need to be 16 and above to serve with their parents, or we can have placement outside of shelter hours for families to come in and help do other things. Even as a large group, we can sometimes have a complete family with age not a consideration with special group settings, so that we're not in a huge shelter environment with families and their smaller children. So we make it happen.
What do you guys need help with out? Because it literally car hit me in the face just now. Like, when you think about serving at a shelter, you think about serving when there are guests there, but you never think about let's just go when they're quote unquote closed, right?
Yeah.
So when you guys are closed, what would that look like for someone to serve there?
Well, right now, our shelter is inundated with donations because a lot of people
Praise God.
Yeah,
Amen.
it's a good thing.
Amen.
It's a good thing to be. But we don't have the staff, the manpower to organize those donations so that we can label them and have them prepared. They come in large quantities for the inclement weather. People want to give and donate. But of course, when it's inclement weather, when it's really cold, everybody stays in. So right when the inclement weathers or the snow's gone, we get all these donations that we have to organize and prepare for when it's cold to kind of be ready the next time.
Yeah.
So we have that need. Every Saturday, I work early morning to midday, and those are the days that I usually like to schedule families to come in. Even if it's a Sunday afternoon, while we're open and during our dining hours, the families can go into that room that we keep all of our donations and hygiene and soap and toothpaste and clothing items and help us sort them. And that's so helpful. That's so needed.
That's good. That's good.
I love that. Kev, was you about to say something?
Yeah, no, man. I seen the power of that this week. Like, I took 10 students at the community bank, and they had so much donated stuff. But just even with that small group of 10 kids, like, we were able to bust through and organize so much of that stuff. Like, I think we went through like 5 or 6 pallets for them. Wow. And just to see the help that gives to the community, like, we're talking about serving the community. So we're giving things to serve the community, but in order for those things to be processed properly so the community can receive that, it has to be. And like, I never thought, like, if you've never been to a food bank or a homeless shelter or anything that serves the community, logistics is like crazy. It's one of the number one things that they need and have, but that need for people to work the logistics, I've learned, is so high and important.
And work it properly.
Yeah.
Because I know some things.
But you know what I realized too is oftentimes we want to serve the way we want to serve, right, Tracy?
Yes.
We want to serve the way we want. We want to say, hey, we want to give you this, or we want to do this for you, instead of saying, hey, we're able-bodied. what do you need us to do? And so
Exactly.
I'll encourage you, anyone that's listening to this, it's like, okay, I get it. I'm going to serve. Go serve with open hands,
Yeah.
open hands and willingness, not one open hand and a closed fist. Like, I'm going to help you, but this. No, I'm coming with both open hands, and whatever you need me to do, I guarantee you, wherever
Yeah.
you go serve, they already have the procedures they just don't have the human bodies to get these things done. And we really need to step, like, honestly, it spoke to my heart this week. And I'm like, I have a list of ideas that I want to knock down and places I want to go to bring these bodies in place so that they already have the procedures and stuff set up. Yeah. We just need to put the bodies in place in order for that to be carried out. So, man, Denton has a great place in my heart. I went to UNT, so I'm gonna have to make a family trip, and we're gonna come in, and work and do some work with you. Yeah, definitely.
That would be
definitely.
Wonderful. That would be wonderful and welcome. Well, you get it, because it is difficult to have people who want to give, who want to be a part of the giving of the shelter, and they give items that we can't use in the shelter because, or they give them to the guests outside when you can come in and serve them. Because sometimes, like at a homeless shelter, blankets on the outside, when our guests come in, we have to take them because we have to launder them, which is an expense to the shelter. So when you see those guests outside, bring them a coat rather than a blanket, because they can keep their coat. The blankets we have to launder at an expense. So there are times when we'll have people who are passionate about helping. They're really wanting to do something, and they're outside the building. And then it creates an additional work for us on the inside because we have no storage unit for those blankets. Yeah. We have the expense of laundering them, and then we have to label them in order to give them back to who it belongs to. Just asking that business or that entity or that organization that's serving in the way, how can I help? What is it that you need? And then that way you can come in and get in and do whatever you want from the inside as far as serving as a family, as a group, as an organization. Plus, you're able to meet our guests from the inside rather than the outside. It's a totally different environment when the guests are sheltered than when they're outside and see someone pull up and giving, on how different that interaction can be if you're serving from the inside rather than trying to help on the outside in a way that's really not conducive to the situation that they're in.
And can I say something? Y'all stop donating your time and documenting the whole thing. Like, just go do the work. Yeah. Just go do. Don't nobody need to see you like taking a Reels or a Snapchat or something like that of you scrubbing down a kitchen sink. Like, hey, I'm all for it. Get your group photo. That's cool, right, man. But I'm trying to tell you, because Kev knows. I said it before on the podcast, man. I can't stand people that are out there clout chasing. Like, look, when I went to Kenya, man, praise God, we had a group of people that brought shoes, but every single person, they want to take a picture with every single person taking a shoe, and they want to take pictures of them while they were giving to the shoe. I'm like, bro, what you doing? Like, just let your work be your work. You know what I mean? Like, there's no need for.
No, you good, because I think that's important, but I gotta, because now they're gonna be like, well, the mentor coach put all of his pictures up, but I did, but I do it just because, we also have to show people how to serve. And I think, Josh, you do have a valid, like, some people it's all about them. And we have to be able to be in a place to serve. It's like what the Bible says, don't let the left hand know what your right hand is doing. Like, you should just serve because that's what you're called to do, is to serve. And we really do need to get into a place, because I think there's a lot of guilt, a lot of guilt factor in there. Easter comes around. Oh, I need the help. Christmas, Thanksgiving. Oh, I need the help. But where are you in those times where
you at on the 4th of July?
Yeah, like, where are you at these times where? And that's one of the things that I'm so proud to hear from
Trish.
from Trisha about asking what they need, because as we left today, I was like, what is the highest need? And now I have identified how to help that community bank by being able to be available on the days that they really need the help. So we're coming on Tuesday and Thursday, and they like, hey, we need you on Monday and Wednesday. Right. And so now I can make the adjustment on how to really serve. And so I think it's really important. Like, man, don't do it for the fame and the fortune. Do it because we know, and don't do it just once. Like, I think it's one of those things like, you said it's a community. These people are our community, and we're just glazing over these people, over our guests and these people who are experiencing homelessness and are in need. And we really need to build community around them. And I think that, like you said, I'm putting it. This is engraved in my heart. Serve from the inside. That makes so much sense, because sometimes we're out there trying to recreate the wheel because we want to do it our way. But you guys have been doing this for years. You're established. You already, let's serve from the inside. Stop trying to serve from the outside, creating more chaos. I believe there's the homeless shelter here in Fort Worth. They've had to really come down on individuals and groups, because they will come out and feed the homeless guests that were coming to their shelter, and it would cause chaos. So all of the guests would come out of the shelter to try to get fed when they're feeding them on the inside. So there's so much that we can do to support and establish our current shelters and food banks if we just serve from the inside.
Absolutely, Kev. I often say, let's do it decent and in order. Get with the person in charge so that you can know what's needed. Personally, I love storytelling or capturing what people are doing in the community and encouraging. I take my own pictures. I sneak them.
Lord, she take all her pictures. I can't bring a bag up there
and have you on Facebook, because I believe that encourages people. You know, it shows if he can do it, I can do it. Oh, I have some shoes I'm not wearing. I just bought these shoes. They don't fit. Instead of sending them back, let me bring them to the homeless shelter. I bought 22 pair of underwear because they were on sale and they don't fit in my underwear clutch. You know what I mean? Bring them to the homeless shelter because we need them. You know, in those instances when people give, I like to capture that and share so that it can be, this is something you can do. Because sometimes people have that desire, but they don't know what to do. They don't know how to help the community in that way, or help the homeless shelter. Or they don't even know that that's an opportunity to help when they see a person on the corner panhandling. You know, what to give them? What do they need? You know, I don't want to give them cash. I want to give them a bus ticket. You know, at some point they're going to need a bus ticket. Go to the homeless shelter and say, I want to donate this for your bike fund. My kids are grown out of their bikes. When you have a family, you guys go bike riding.
That's nice.
Come to the homeless shelter.
Yeah, you know, that's good.
Your child grows out of the bike, donate it to a homeless shelter. I'm sure a man needs it to get to work. We have so many people who catch the bus to the train. Now there's Go Zone. It's 75 cents. If you teach your children from their allowance, donate 75 cents a week.
That's good.
You know, to the homeless shelter so one man can get to work. And if you raise your children doing that, imagine what the onset of change that could be in the whole community of people. I just tell them all the time, all it takes is one. You know, even if it's bad in the shelter, you know, don't do that, because you're the catalyst for the change that's going to happen. Or even if it's good, continue to do that, because somebody else is going to see you do it. It works both ways.
I love it.
That's great. There's so many. There's just, it's like, because I think we see one issue and we only see the big issue. And Trish, you just took that big issue and you brought it all the way down to 75 cents. 75 cents. You know, that's how much chips used to cost. 75 cents. So so there's so much that we can do. And if we really have a heart to serve, we can just start with the little things. And I think that's even good for families with small kids. How can you get your kid to see the little things that they can do to serve these guests in this demographic group? What do you say to someone who sees someone who's experiencing homeless, like they're on the corner? Like, because I know for me, I've been told that some people choose to be homeless.
Some do.
Yeah, so that is true.
So what? Because I know we might get off of here and somebody will see somebody say, "Hey, man, you need to go to this homeless shelter," and they might get a bad look. They might get a dirty look, right?
Right.
So, what are some ways? Because we're talking about those who are experiencing homelessness, and we know panhandlers are out there. What are some things that we should think about as we take this information that we've received today and we go about our daily lives, and as we see someone, it pops in our brain, homeless shelter, he's homeless, let's help him. What are some things, because I know everybody is different. So I know, number one, we have to be aware that most people who are experiencing homelessness have mental issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's very important, because we may approach someone and may get some kind of reaction back that's not warranted because of who they are as an individual. It's just that what they're going through, what episode level in their episode they are at that time. But we want to help. So what are some things that we can do as we see people as we go out? Because I'm sure you see both sides of it. You see those who are just wanting to be out there, and you're seeing those who wanting to come in for help.
Absolutely. There are people who desire not to be sheltered for whatever reason, prior incarceration, mental illness, war times, close quarters, being around other people who are experiencing difficulty reminds them of not being able to have hope in that situation.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's they're trying to get away from maybe using or their addictions, and that environment sometimes is conducive to people who are suffering from those. So they may not shelter because they feel that it's not safe for them trying to get away from those conditions.
That's good.
Or they may feel as though it's just confined quarters. They don't want to be in that environment. And I know that sounds a little weird, but sometimes unhoused people, or we'll use the word homeless people, have a fear of other homeless people because maybe they're not homeless for the same reason that they are. We get that often. I get that often in the shelter, that somebody will say, I'm not on drugs, I'm not alcohol, I'm just, having an episode. And there's some discord among people who are all together, but they're all together for different reasons. I think I've done it for years. I just go and, I sit by them. Why are you out here? What you need? What's going to get you off the street tonight? If it's really cold, of course, you put them up. I don't think you have to offer somebody you'll never see them again. Google the nearest safest housing motel for that person. Get them off the street for a night. Change their life that one moment, that one day. Ask them what they need. And if it's something other than money, provide it outside of it being just giving them money. Sometimes they might need just work money for getting to work tomorrow. Have bus tickets in your vehicle. I used to carry $12 on my sun visor all the time just to be able to give it $2 in increments to people I saw on the side. I'm like, oh, this is illegal. Let me let me not do this. But I'm like, I don't have any money, but I'm about to go to somewhere to eat. You come, hop in. But there's so much that you can do safely. I'm not encouraging people to do that because my daughter tells me all the time that's not safe. But I still do it. She does it too, so it didn't work. It didn't work well. Her telling me that. But just being able to ask that person, what can eliminate your homelessness? What's going on? What do you need today? Just those little things. And if you know where the local shelter is, ask them. Do they need a ride there? You can call your local police department. Well, in Denton, you can't. I don't know everywhere else. And they'll come and give that person a ride to the shelter. We get people as far as from Louisville, Plano, sometimes Frisco. The police will drive them to the shelter. They'll call and ask, do you have room? So
that's crazy.
There's so much that can be done. They're removing people from encampments. So in Denton, I know there's going to be a lot of different areas. Might be close to somewhere you would have never seen a homeless person or a person who is unhoused. in your neighborhood. So you might have to know what to do, or how can I remedy this? Because now it's affecting you. Before, you'd have to drive across town to see.
Yeah.
But because of all the laws and mandates with regards to encampments, so a lot of things could be changing.
Can we speak on that just a little bit? Because I think this is important about, like, what you just said, just put a trigger in my mind, because as a father, now you're telling me they're closing encampments, which brings the situation closer to home, right? Because think about it. Right now, many fathers and many families don't worry about it because they don't see it as often. They're in their little neighborhood. They're good. And so now that the encampments are being shut down and they're really trying to push people off the streets. And we are, like, seriously, I know even in my area, I've seen a slow tick up, not it may be because of COVID as well, but I'm seeing a slow tick up of more in areas that I've never seen before. And I think it's very important for families and dads that are listening. So we're talking about going to the shelter and serving. Now we're talking about hitting it in your own street, in your own community. And now being engaged, watch this, in the laws that are being made with your community, right? So not just your community with your nice little car in your house, but with your community, even with those individuals on the street that's affecting them. So as parents, now we have a bigger duty, right? We have a bigger duty to be involved, because now we can also have some influence on how these laws are being made to affect those who are less fortunate in our community. So what can fathers even look out for in that aspect, as far as the laws being enacted to stop homelessness? Or,
well, can I jump in there? Okay, Kev?
Yeah,
so
you
like
did.
Here's my 2 cents. As we continue to go on as a society, right? Like, we're not going to stop building, and we're always going to have the least with us, right? And so there's always going to be a need. What you're going to see is that we're running out of space. And so there's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to try to pop up closer to your home, kind of like Trish said. But what the other side of it is, you have a lot of NIMBYism. And for y'all that don't know what NIMBYism is, it's not in my backyard. And so it's simply people saying, hey, I love people. I love the homeless. I want to help them. Oh, don't you put no shelter right next door to me.
Right.
And so there's like, it's hard, right? Because like where do you put a shelter? Like, those that are experiencing homelessness, they need transportation, they need employment. Most of them may need some sort of daycare, and they need access to resources. Well, in order to do that, the most cost-effective way for them to do that is for them to be close to transportation. Well, whether that be buses, whether that be trains, but now we're pushing them out farther because we don't want them in our backyard. And so now they don't have access to these things. You know what I mean? And so it's like, yeah, I would love people to get involved, but at the same time, I also want you to stay but at home. You know what I'm saying? So we can get some things passed. Because there's just it's hard. It's really, really hard. There's I don't want to say there's a proposal, but there was a request for information from the city of Denton on tiny homes. They weren't putting out a bid or nothing like that. They just wanted information. And United Way of Denton County and a local construction company, they actually put together a nice presentation of a 26 home community of tiny houses made out of containers. So they were container homes. There's 2 homes back to back. It was 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom homes. And from the front view, you wouldn't even tell that it was a container home. And so those are some of the things that you're starting to see that it doesn't even look like a tiny home, right? Yeah. And you might see more of those popping up. Seattle, again, going to Seattle, they have 2, and they are huge communities, but they look nothing like what you think they would. And so I think that might be what we see, especially because a lot of those experiencing homelessness are in more densely populated areas. And we run out of space. So I think that's what you see. And if there's laws being presented, if you ain't voting for them, I need you to stay at home. That's all I want to say.
No, that's
Trish,
good.
go ahead. Trish, did you want to jump in there? Because we're about to go, man. This is a storm rolling in. I'm about to lose internet. I know it. I know
it's about to go out.
No, I'm good on that one. I try to stay out of politics completely.
I know. Look, listen, I tell you, that's why. Anyways, whatever.
No, but I thought that was great. That's really important because I think even when I think about what has happened in Fort Worth, we shut down a housing project just so that they could build condominiums in that area. And so now you push them further from their resources that were locally in that area. And so now they're in communities that they probably wouldn't have been in. But even in Fort Worth, man, our transportation, I'm going to say it, our transportation sucks. Like when I think about busing and being able to get from one place to another, I even thought about it. I was like, man, I'll take the bus. Bro, every hour?
It might take about 3 hours.
Yeah, I was like, dude. So I think like those are the important things that we really have to consider. And as a man, as a father, I need to do better with the infrastructure and the ideas of my community so that my whole community, not just my little community that I live in, but that my whole community, like seriously, Trish, you've changed my whole community. It's not just me and my family and my friends. It's also including those who are experiencing homelessness for whatever reason that they're experiencing homelessness. Are we doing our best to provide them with an opportunity of hope so that they can live their lives as the best that they can? And so I'm really encouraged by that.
Be encouraged. Trish, we're about to get out of here, man. You got anything you want to say to wrap up to the people out there?
I'm just really grateful that you allowed me the opportunity to share. Meet Kev. It's been a really, really exciting thing for me to do and just share about our organization. Sorry, I'm nervous again.
No, you listen. Y'all don't know how hard. Listen, there was a lot of manipulation going on. Because I was telling Trish, I was like, man, we didn't have people on here advocating for education. We didn't have people advocating for those the sex traffickers, things like that. And you ain't gonna advocate for the people that they talk about the least of us. God wants you on here to talk about this.
I'm like, God, me at the shelter.
You at the shelter.
Talking about this.
KB, what you got, man?
Oh man, I just say, hey, every man, every father, every family, definitely take an opportunity this summer. I'm saying right now, this summer, take an opportunity to go to your homeless shelter and ask, how may I serve you? And whatever way that they say that you could serve them, serve. This week, we had an opportunity for our kids to serve, and it's been a blessing to them and to myself because we never know what our community needs because we're dealing with our own stuff. We're dealing with our own struggles. We're dealing with our own problems, but then we forget that there's a community within a community that needs our help. So I just want to encourage each and every one of the listeners that's listening today, find some way to serve. Listen, I know COVID is hitting you and your family just as it's hitting everybody else, and the pandemic has been really strong on us, but all they're asking for are warm bodies to help. And if that's all you have, you ain't got no money, you ain't got no blankets, you ain't got no canned goods, bring your body in there and serve.
Yes, exactly that, Kev.
That's it. Man, we appreciate you guys so much. Y'all know the drill. Thank you for tuning in to the podcast. Like the podcast, subscribe to the podcast, share the podcast. 1, 2, 3 people. Take care. God bless. We'll see y'all next week. We out of here.
God bless y'all.